So before I jump right into it, I gotta be 100% honest with you. When I first heard about Skylum's newest product, Luminar AI, I was a bit leery as my initial response to a reaction, I should say, to the news of its release was that it would be an entirely new product that would predominantly be built on taking sky replacement wizardry to an all new level. And although I can appreciate the technology behind that, sky replacements is just something that I don't do within my own landscape photography. Now, fast forward a month or so since the initial release, and I get a message from the fine folks over at Skylum reaching out and checking in to see if I, would be interested in testing Luminar AI out on some of my landscape photos, and B, to see if I'd be open to a sponsored video. So a big thanks to my friends over at Skylum for sponsoring this week's video. Your support is greatly appreciated. Now, full disclosure, I've only been using Luminar AI for the past maybe week or so, but the tool that I was most interested in has already surprised me in more ways than one. And in this video, I want to share with you my initial experience after using Luminar AI for such a short amount of time, along with how you might be able to improve some of your landscape photos by using this new and unique software. Now, I'm not going to run through every feature and benefit of Luminar AI. One, that would take hours, and two, I don't even know what they all are just yet, but I do want to review some of the things that I find most unique, some of the things that I find most beneficial to the way that I edit my landscape photos. So to jump right into it, this is your overall interface when you first log in, after you put some photos in here. These are some of the images that I have been playing with so far. And you have everything broken down. You got your catalog right here, and then templates. Now, I'm not really one for using templates or presets or anything like that, but I think it's pretty cool the way that they laid this out here. So if you click on a photo right here, this is what I think is neat. It picks certain styles, certain templates that fit the actual photo that you selected right here. So if I selected, filmic, and then you hit something like cold fire, and then you can kind of turn down the intensity of that preset or that template. And you can do the same thing throughout all of these, or you can reset it like this. Now, what's really cool about this, let me go back to catalog here, or back to templates, go backwards, and click on a new photo. So what's cool is, I guess this is the AI, the artificial intelligence at work here, because it's actually reading the individual photo to determine exactly what template might look best for it. So if I click this image right here, and we go up here to templates for this photo, it read that the AI already determined that this is a water scene, so it picked waterscapes. It also determined that, overcast, sunset, and when this was a sunset. So if I click on this, and you can pick some of these styles and kind of turn it down a little bit, and actually that looks pretty good right there. You kind of use this little eyeball right here. This is kind of the before and after, just to kind of turn it on and off to see exactly what that does. I'll go ahead and reset that adjustment. But I just think that was pretty cool. I like the way that they laid that out. I never seen it done quite like that, but I did spend, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 minutes the other day, just kind of moving through some of my photos, applying some of these templates to it, just to see if there was something that I liked a little bit better than the edit that I had already put on it. And I was surprised there actually was quite a few that I was impressed with. So it gave me some additional ideas. But once, if you want to edit a specific photo, it's kind of cool. Let's pick this image right here. We'll go over here to edit, and you have all of your tools right here. You have your essential section here. You have your creative section here. They're all color coded, portrait, and then you have your professional section at the bottom here. And anything that utilizes the AI functionality, you can see it's easily highlighted. It says AI in orange next to it. But what I like about this is everything is just laid out. You don't have to dive into folders or specific sections or anything like that. When you hit edit, everything is available to you. And I think that's nice. I think that's very user-friendly, easy to work with. You have this enhanced slider, or tool, I should say, at the top here. And you can slide this accent over to the right like this, and you can see exactly what it's doing here. Keep on going. You can turn this on or off. So this is before and after. You kind of turn it up a little bit more. You can also use the before and after up here too. Before, after, before, after. So that's one of the many AI tools, but something that I think is really cool is something in the professional section called super contrast. Now, contrast, anyone who's watched any of my previous videos, contrast is something that I talk about a lot. It's something that I honestly struggle with my post-processing workflow. Sometimes I get a particular image, I nail the contrast, but a lot of times I get the contrast too overly contrasty to where the shadows areas become too dark, or I don't put enough contrast in an image. So it's something that I'm always working on, but there's a feature inside of here called super contrast that I really like the way it operates. So I'm going to come down here to the professional section, and I'm going to select super contrast. And as you can see, they have it broken down between highlights contrast, midtones contrast, and shadows contrast. So if I take the highlights contrast, and I'm going to bring it up a lot so you can easily see it at home, you can see the difference that that did. It only applied that contrast to the actual highlight area of the image. And then you can also adjust the luminosity of that adjustment as well. So if I take the highlights balance and move it all the way to the left, you can really see how the white of these birch trees is really popping. That's the brightest highlights in this image. Or I can bring it to the other direction, and that's going to actually darken down those highlights. So I really want to make those trees pop a little bit more. And like I said, I'm going to probably overdo this a little bit just so you can easily see it at home. But this is before and after, before and after. So very subtle difference, but I think it's really cool how you can actually determine exactly where you want to put that contrast, and it can also determine the luminosity value of that adjustment as well. So if I come down here to the shadows, and I'm going to bring this up quite a bit as well right here, turn this on and off again, before, and after. And if I bring it all the way up to 100 and take this shadow balance over to this direction, you can see that that's kind of brightening up those shadows even more. And I'm going to bring it down a little bit because I want those shadows to be a little bit darker right through there. And then I'm going to do the same with the midtones contrast. Now this is going to probably make it look a little oversaturated, because whenever you add additional contrast to certain areas of your scene, you're also adding additional contrast to those particular colors as well. But I really like the overall contrast of this image now. So I'm going to toggle this before and after. So this is before and after, before and after. And once again, anyone who has watched any of my previous videos knows that I love a good before and after toggle switch or button. And I don't think there is any software, platform, program, product available today that is better at the before and after than Luminar. You have these buttons up here, the eyeball button, which is amazing, but you have this cool slider that you can slide back and forth. Let me grab it right here to actually just see the changes that you're making. Like you can really see in the bottom left-hand corner here, the change in that shadow contrast. But I think Luminar does a great job at the before and afters, and I highly, highly appreciate that. Now, since we added the mid-tone contrast, we added a ton in there. You can really see how it made those colors, especially in the center of the image, kind of overcooked a little bit. So I'm going to close this down. I'm going to come up here back to the essential section because I want to work on the actual color of this. So I'm going to drop this down, and I don't want to just take the vibrancy down because I don't want to impact all the colors in this image. I'm going to come down here to the HSL section and make sure that saturation is selected, and just bring down those reds a little bit. Maybe bring down those greens a little bit as well right through there. I think something that looks good. Before and after, before and after. And also in this essential section up here in the tools, you have things like lights. You can adjust your temperature, your white balance, exposure, highlight, shadows, things of that nature. Of course, we just looked at the color section. You also have structure AI, which I found works really good. So if I bring this up all the way, or not all the way, but somewhere right through there. And if you look at this region right through here, when I toggle this section on and off, this is before and after, before and after. That really sharpened or enhanced a lot of the detail in that area right through there. So I think that structure AI works really good. So there's a lot of really cool features inside of that smart contrast and the essentials panel as well that I've had a lot of fun playing around with. And I must say that this is a lot of fun to play with. It's I've spent a lot of time playing with a lot of the AI features, and I think some of them are pretty cool, but it's definitely a fun software suite to mess around with. Now, the next thing that I think is really neat is the way that they implement dodging and burning. Now, dodging and burning is something that I hear from a lot of photographers, or newer photographers, beginner photographers. It's something that they want to start doing in their own images, but they're a little, I guess, intimidated by it. But it really is a simple process, and once you just kind of do it a couple times. But I think that the way it's laid out in Luminar AI is absolutely fantastic. So let me pick another image here. How about this one? I'm going to come up here to edit. I'm going to come down to, I believe it is in the professional section. Yes, dodge and burn. And you can see right here how simply this is laid out. You have lighten, darken, and erase. You can adjust the size of your brush, the overall, or the strength of the dodging and burning that you're applying, and the overall amount. So let's just zoom in to these mountains here. Let's say we want to add some dodging and burning to the little bit of light that's hitting these the mountain peaks right here. So I'm going to hit lighten there, and I'm just going to start painting. It's going to look a little bit overdone right now, but we're going to go ahead and adjust that in just a moment. And I'm just doing this really quick. But what's neat is it naturally kind of masks this area out. You can see I didn't brighten up the sky right there. I only brightened up the area that I wanted to right through there. I'm going to use the bracket keys just to reduce the overall size of my brush real quick. And I'm just kind of hitting the areas where the light is naturally hitting these peaks right through here. Maybe a little bit there, some there. And I think that's good. And if we want to come over here to darken or burn a lot of these areas, I'm just going to select these areas here. And once again, it's definitely going to be a little bit overdone right now, but we will adjust that. So right through here, this area right here is definitely a little bit darker as well. Maybe through there. Maybe we could even go back to lighten and add a little bit right through here through the landscape. Because I like the kind of the three-dimensional feeling that light can provide. And that's one of the most powerful things about dodging and burning, is that it adds that kind of three-dimensional quality that we see when we're on location, but a lot of times doesn't come through on a two-dimensional photograph. Dodging and burning can add that complexity to the overall photograph to give it more of that 3D feel. So once we've added it all in, we can come down here to the overall amount and just kind of reduce it. You can turn it up all the way. You can bring it down some to something about right there. And if you're looking at this right now, you're like, it doesn't even look like we've done anything. But when you start to toggle that on and off, that before and after switch on, that is when you can really see it come to life. So this is before and after, before and after. If we wanted to turn it up just a little bit more, we could, just like that, before and after. And if there's an area you don't like, you just hit the erase button, just make a swipe, and it's gone. Before, after, before, and after. So that's just a real quick example of dodging and burning, but I just think that the way that it's laid out in Luminar AI makes it very user-friendly. It makes it not intimidating at all. And I personally think that dodging and burning is one of those things that can absolutely take your landscape photos or really any photo to the next level. Let me go back up here to catalog. Now the next thing, I guess this is the big thing that I was most interested in, and it's the atmosphere AI. I was very interested as to how well it would work, because I personally think, as a landscape photographer, atmosphere is everything. You can have an amazing composition at an amazing location, but if the atmosphere is just kind of dull and flat, the image is going to be lacking something. So I was curious to see how well this would actually work. So let me pick another image right through here. So this. Let me come up here or over here to edit. And atmosphere AI is in this creative section right here. And if we let's just start with fog. And let's turn this up quite a bit. And you can see what it has done right through there. So it added a lot of fog in the background. And it's got the depth. And what the depth does is as you kind of bring it up, you can see that it kind of rolls from the background into the midground and into the foreground. So it changes the depth of the fog in the overall photograph. But here's what's so cool about it. If we zoom into this area right through here, let's go back up here to depth. And if you pay attention to the tree branch right here, you can actually see the fog wrap around it. So right here, when the depth is set at 25, you can see that all the fog is behind the tree except for up here where it's the highest. But as we bring that depth down or over or increase it, you can see the fog start to wrap around that tree branch and move forward. And you can really see it if I toggle this on and off or just slide it back and forth like this. And I just think that's pretty cool. That's exactly what I was thinking about when I first heard about atmosphere AI. I was like, I wonder how good that actually does. Is it just overlay the fog on top of the actual, tree or whatever happened to be in the foreground? Or does it have the ability to determine exactly where the tree is within the actual image? And I heard that this uses something called 3D mapping technology. I'm not even gonna act like I'm smart enough to understand exactly what that is, but it works pretty cool. So I think that's neat, but for this image, I was already playing with this the other day. Layered fog, which just kind of puts a little bit in the center area, or I'm sorry, in the actual more in the foreground than the background. And if we just kind of toggle this back and forth, I mean, look at that. right in the center, right through there. And you can actually bring it more into the foreground if we turn it up all the way. I'm going to kind of put it there, somewhere like that. And if we turn it on and off, that's before and after. I'm going to turn it up even more, actually. Before and after. Bring the depth down because I really just want it to be a thin strip around where that autumn color is along the trees in the middle part of the frame. I think something about right there looks good. And once again, I'm definitely overdoing this for the video so you can see it, but I want to make sure it's easy to see at home. So this is before and after, before and after. And that just makes a world of difference, just that little bit of atmosphere in there. Here's another cool example here. And this is probably the other thing that I think is most unique about it is that the Atmosphere AI, it's not kind of like a cookie cutter tool. It reads each individual photograph, which I think is nice. And you can really see it in this image here. If we come up here to, I guess let's stick with fog again. Let's crank this all the way up. And you can see that it's only bringing the fog in right through here, right through this area of the scene. You can also bring the depth up, and that's going to build it more up into the foreground area right through there. And then you also have mist, which is pretty neat. And then you also have haze, which is cool. And it all does things differently, like the haze. Look at that. That looks pretty neat. It actually looks like haze from the waterfall crashing below is kind of slowly bubbling up. I think that's pretty neat. And then you got the depth right through here. And you also have this lightness. So you can actually change how bright or the luminance value of the fog or the mist or the haze or something like that. And I think the haze probably looks the best in this particular image. If we turn it on and off and on and off, that's pretty cool. You can definitely burn up a lot of time playing with the Atmosphere AI. But like I said at the beginning of the video, I could probably go on and on and on. There's a lot of cool things about it, about Luminar AI. It's a lot of fun to play with, and I've really enjoyed messing around with it so far. So if you have any questions about Luminar AI, I will do my best to answer them. Just leave them in the comment section below, and I guarantee I will get back in touch with you to the best of my ability with a correct answer. And if you did enjoy this week's video, if you could give it that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And as always, I really do appreciate you watching this week's video, and I will see you all next Wednesday. Bye.